So we're going to take a look at the SV8 System Evolution Description of DoDAF 2 in this video. So let's create one. We'll call it System Timelines. And by default, you see you get a timeline with default dates, and you can change those dates. And so we'll change this to say, let's go from January 1st, 2020 to say January 1st, 2030. And we will look at it by month. Okay, and so you have this timeline. Now let's take a look at some systems. We have a bunch of systems in our architecture. Let's take a look at system D, for example, and look at its life cycle in terms of milestones. I click on choices here, and this encyclopedia doesn't have any milestones yet, system milestones. So let's add some. So I'm going to say that we're going to design, build, test, deploy, and sunset systems. And your milestones would be different, but it's a simple example. And so let's choose a milestone date of January 1st, 2021. We're going to design the system. It'll be finished. We're going to start building it. So let's take a little shortcut here. We'll copy this, paste these dates down, and change the dates. This is a slow built system. We'll do it every year. Will be a new milestone. Maybe it's a big system, and then we'll sunset it out in 2030. Right. So those are our dates, and for these dates, if we click on define, you'll see that there's information about this milestone, but that's fine. And now we can take our system and drag it onto the diagram, and you see its milestones, the design, build, test, deploy, and also that sunset date. And you can change this. Let's go out to 2032, right? And then also zoom in here and see this system. We can move this system box. You see the milestones displayed here, and we can turn that off by going to right mouse clicking on it, choosing display mode, and enabling us to select not to have anything displayed, and click save all and close. And so this is our first system. It's a system timeline. And let's now look at another system. Let's look at system V. Go out to its milestones. Click on choices. Now we have the milestones that we just created, but they belong to system D, and they have information about them, their dates, for example. We can select them all and reuse them. What happens is, once we do that, they each become part of system V. So it's a new instance of this system milestone, same date, but we can change the date, right? So let's change this around. Let's say we're going to design this first, and then build it, and then test it, right? And let's look at this and say we're going to start designing this, testing it, deploying it, and sunsetting it with a 6-month delay. We'll look at build here and change the date here through the picker, right? And let's drag that system onto the diagram. So everything is 6 months delayed. And we can show dependencies. So I'll set my line style to straight and use a dependency line to say, Well, this system D is dependent on the deployment of system V, right? And so I would show that this way. Okay, and so that's not a good condition, right? The forward looking arrow says that you have to wait here, even though this system is built, it has to wait for this one to be deployed for it to be operational. And we can track that information through the reporting engine. So I have a report here that I built. This is in the DAF2 RPT file. And you can build your own reports in our reporting engine of System Architect. And in this case, I start with system, get its name of all the properties, and specify that that system should be at the top of the column of the output. And then I say it uses definition system milestone, and for each system milestone I get the name of the milestone and its date. I go down a level and I get is parent of definition system milestone dependency, that's the from. Then I said it has a child of system milestone, that's the to system milestone, and it's used by the system, and I get it's the system name. And with that report built, I can generate it, and I get output like this, right? Where real simple grid, we can generate to HTML as well. But here we're saying system D has dependency on the deployment milestone of system V on this date. Okay, and for the reporting engine edification, any of these reports can be edited and generated out to HTML. And I would choose a style sheet and just generate and get a different kind of output like this. Okay. So with that said, so that's dependencies between systems and how you can get that information out of the tool. Let's take a look further at this viewpoint. If we look at these milestones, if you double click on the this line, which is the timeline of the system, or here at the head, you'll get to the system definition. And in here, you can access the milestones of that system, right? And click on their definition. And the other way to do that is to double click directly on the milestone, and you get it its definition. And there's information in here. These pieces to the pie chart each represent a thread, a status of a particular thread of the system and its design or deployment, etc. And these are default properties that we provide, but you can change these, and I'll show you how to change them in a minute. But let's say you wanted to keep our default properties. I would say, well, does the design of this system meet the doctrine? Well, maybe there's some critical issues with the design. Is the training online? People are starting to build the training material and they're talking to development. Maybe there are some manageable issues. The leadership is involved, no outstanding issues. The facilities for the deployment of this system, no outstanding issues, etc. Right? So maybe it's not specified. There's a number of different properties in here. Not known. Personnel. Do we have enough people on the design? No outstanding issues, etc. And that will change the colors of the pie chart to reflect that information. And you do have a key here that you can drop onto the diagram. So if I zoom out, we'll drop a key on the diagram, and it places itself down here to show what those colors mean. And finally, let's take a look at the colors of the timeline itself. So this is a system timeline, and I can do a couple of things. I can go to the SV8 tab and choose to show or not show the timeline before and after the last milestone. So I turned it off in both cases there, and you can see that this lifeline doesn't occur before and after the first and the last milestones. And the colors in between, they are set by going to each milestone. So if I go out to, for example, design, and open its definition and go to phase, default colors, in this case, not set, but I might choose white here. Okay, and that changed that color. And so you can do that as well. So let's take a look at one more thing. We have an opportunity in here to change those default milestones. So the threads of a milestone, you have doctrine, organization, training, material, etc. And so System Architect's customizable meta model enables you to do anything you want really in the tool, create new definitions, diagrams, symbols, change things. But in this case, it's a real simple change to say, instead of those default threads, relabel them, adheres to standards, users notified, processes updated, etc. And so if I import that user props into this encyclopedia and reopen it, we'll change those threads. So let's go back to that SV8 view. And zoom in a bit. And let's take a look at now those milestones, and you'll see real simple change. We changed the milestones, and you can also edit to have less milestones and therefore less pieces of the pie, etc. So that's what I want to cover as far as the SV8 view and DoDAF 2. You can also add other elements to this diagram through customization, or create another diagram with more than just systems. You can take any artifact in the architecture and have it spread out over a timeline. By default, we provide projects and systems, but you can have capabilities, performers, etc. And any resource in the or any artifact actually in the architecture. Okay, so thanks for watching.